generally depends a lot on social bonding, like going to school, forming relationships, and earning income. When a society excludes certain groups, like persons with disabilities, from such bonding, they not only deny them their legal rights, but they also lose out on their contribution socially, culturally, and economically. This week on the show, we continue with part 2 of the series, Land and Property Rights, with a focus on persons with disabilities and those with special needs. I'm your host, Caleb Kusienya. Our sign language interpreter is Jedido Ofula, and this is Access to Justice, a show that enlightens, educates, and informs you on your legal rights, the legal processes, and everything that entails the law. Stay tuned. To start us this conversation is our guest, a legal expert. Kindly introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Silas Ombati. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, currently practicing, managing partner, SED Legal LLP. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Science TV. Now, Wakili, we know that most times when it comes to land and property, people make mistakes because of lack of information. What are some of these mistakes and how can they be overcome?
Information is a basic tenet that each and every individual should be able to get as regards not only land, but let me just put it that access to information in generally. Yeah.
Okay.
And that is something that is provided for in our Constitution under Article 35, the issue of access to justice. And I know several people wonder, where can we get information? Or rather, if I want to know anything as pertains, now that we're talking about land, where can I get this information from?
Yes.
Yes. So there are different ways in which people can be able to access this information, and that is something that we would wish to talk about or share today.
Okay.
Yes.
And talking about that, what are the basics? What should people know when it comes to purchasing land before you decide that there's this land somewhere and I'm interested in it and I want to purchase? What are some of the things that people should know as basics?
Well, what I will talk about there is what we call due diligence.
Yes.
Before you purchase any property or land, one needs to undertake due diligence. And now the question that begs is, what is due diligence?
Exactly.
Yes. Due diligence is you want to find out the ownership of property.
We notice that most of the times people make a lot of mistakes when they're purchasing land. And if someone is interested in a particular land somewhere and they want to buy it, what are the basics that they need to know before they purchase such a piece of land?
Yeah, that is a very good question, because this is it's something that most people make mistakes, including those who are well informed, or for lack of a better word. But the basics would be, for instance, for that person who is at the village, for instance, I want to get, identify the particular property that I want to purchase. How do I go about it?
Yes.
First of all, at the village level, you will go and try and speak to the neighbors, for instance, or the administrative officials, or the chief, because you know that the people who really know about the ownership of a particular property, so to say.
Yes.
But now coming to the more, I can say, due diligence itself, what does it entail? This includes, for instance, you would want to do a valuation of the property. You know, you might want to buy a property.
Yes.
Someone tells you this property is worth this much and this much.
Yes.
You know, and people, because of lack of information, they just go ahead and purchase that property. Yeah. So what do? You can look for a valuer, land valuer, or a real estate agent, for them to do a valuation of the property, to get to know the real value of the property, so that you get value for money.
Okay.
Yes. Another thing that you need to do is you also need to engage a surveyor.
Yes.
You know, you might purchase property and then later on a boundary dispute arises. That this property belongs to so and so.
Yes.
And you end up, and you know the legal tussles.
Yes,
so
yes,
as regards land. So what you'll do, you'll look for a surveyor. They will carry out a survey, they will be able to ascertain the boundaries, and as you know, the beacons, how
Yes, how they're planted and
yes.
stuff.
So that's said and done. What next do you do? You will carry out a search, and a search is what now clearly gives you the true picture of the property and the ownership, because you know once you carry out a search, you will get a search certificate.
Okay.
And that if the certificate clearly shows you who is the owner of this property, what land tenure system this property is under, because you know there are two types of land tenure system, the freehold and the leasehold. Yeah.
Actually, just expand to us about what those two terminologies mean.
Yes, a freehold title. If I own a freehold title, what that in essence means is that I am the absolute owner of this property. I would say that I have this property for life.
Okay.
Yes, I can be able to pass it down to generations upon generations upon generations.
Okay.
But a freehold title, sorry, a leasehold title,
yes,
has a term limit to it.
Okay.
And most of the time you find that it's a 99-year-old lease.
Okay.
And what that in essence means is that upon the expiry of that period of time, that the interest in that title reverts back to the government, so to say.
Okay.
Reversionary interest back to the government. So that is the difference between a freehold and a leasehold.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it's important to establish whether it's a leasehold or a freehold.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that you're able to know. You know, you might be buying a property and you think that this property I will own it for
a lifetime.
A lifetime.
Yes.
Yes. Or rather, I will have this property for 20, 30 years, only to find out that the leasehold was nearing the expiry period.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are some of the issues that one needs to look into.
Okay. And you also mentioned about mostly in the villages, how important it is to engage the villagers and administrative offices in terms of how much do they know about this land, what information do they have, how important is that? Because we understand that most times up country, people just agree and write drafts and agree that yes, I've sold you this much and whatnot. When you talk of people conducting a search, like in such cases, where do they conduct this search and how do they go about it?
Yeah. As you've clearly pointed out, in the villages things are done in sort of a kamukunji setup, so to say.
Very true.
Yes.
Very true.
Where it is believed that the village administrators, they know the history of this property. If there was a mzee or there was a, you know, they know how this property has been transferred from one generation to the next, to the other.
Okay.
Yeah. But that, contrary to a search, search is conducted at the Ministry of Lands.
Okay.
Or rather, we'll say in the respective registries, because you know they're very different registries. I believe last I checked, there were around 57. Yes, from the whole country. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not too sure, but that was the number.
Okay.
So in different counties, so to say, there is a district land registrar.
Okay.
Or a district land registry.
Okay.
Where you're able to now conduct these processes. But it is always advisable to engage an advocate or a lawyer, you know, because some of these things, it becomes sort of easier because, you know, they have the expertise.
Yes, and the knowledge.
The knowledge and the know-how on how that process is undertaken and entails. But this is coming to change. You know, we all know what has happened with regards to the digitization of land registries. Yeah, so it's something that probably will bring access to now
most people,
closer home to the people.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's good to understand what we mean by digitization, so to say. As we all know, we have come a long way in terms of how land records are kept, and there has been challenges as regards, you know, if you want to get anything done at the registry, the issues of cartels and all that. Yeah. So what informed the government to digitize the land registry was because of such issues. And what this meant is that they wanted to move away from the paperwork, you know, and bring it into in an online platform.
Okay.
Yes, where you will a one-stop shop. You'll be able to gain access to, if you want to carry out a search, if you want to pay the land rates, yeah, if you want to, know ownership and all that. So actually, this is a new thing that was came into being, because I remember His Excellency the President launched this project on the 27th of April of this year.
Okay.
Yes, and what that meant is that now there's a shift from, the manual filing and records keeping to now an online platform where at just a touch of a button, at the comfort of a phone or a computer, you can be able to get information as regards property.
Wonderful. Yes. So, in essence, we are saying we are moving from analog to digital.
For lack of a better word, that's it. Yes.
All right. You also mentioned about due diligence, and someone might be wondering, yes, I understand what due diligence is, but who is supposed to carry this due diligence? Can I do it as a person individually, or must I have an advocate to do it for me?
Yes.
And what exactly does it mean if I do it or if I don't do it? What do I risk?
That's a good question, because one of the things that advocates were up in arms with the digitization is loss of work or job,
because they're used to filing.
Yes, and we would expect clients to come to us, expect them for us to do this research and all these processing procedures. Yeah. So before the digitization, this is something that used to be undertaken by advocates, because it's assumed that we have the know-how and we are able to get these documents in, or rather, get you information as pertains a certain parcel of land. But now with the digital platform, and I think that is why now people will need to be taught or rather know how to conduct all these things. But as it stands, it's something that is still undertaken by advocates, or you can get an agent who's well versed with these
matters. Yeah. Okay. And given the current times that we're living in, COVID situation and everything, when it comes to persons with disabilities, it's quite a challenge normally doing these things. One, getting this information, the platform to have this information, and secondly, even when you look at the government itself, when it comes to the land registry, there are no facilities that are friendly to persons with disabilities. What can be done, or what is being done to make sure that they are part and parcel of this and they can access such services conveniently and faster without so much hassle?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It is indeed true that persons with disabilities are facing challenges when it comes to, access to this information, or rather, has there been a platform where it has been created how they can be able to get this information? For instance, as you're saying, are there, if I want to get to know information about land, how do I get to know it? Is there, sort of, if I come to the registry, land registry, will there be someone who I will be able to speak to her?
Yes.
If I'm unable to speak, so how will I be able to convey myself or communicate to the people? So this is it's a challenge. Okay. We are alive to the fact that yes, this is something, and it's contrary to what the law provides.
Yeah.
Is it Article 27, if I'm not wrong?
Yes.
On equality and freedom from discrimination, which talks about disability shouldn't be informed for you to get this sort of information. And on paper we have very good laws. As regards persons with disabilities, we have ratified these conventions.
Yes.
We have done it all, but what is the true position? So it's a challenge that it's being grappled with, and it's something that the government needs to take into consideration, so that a person with disability don't feel left out of this system. And I believe with the digitization, it is something that will now bring them. It will bring them on board.
Yes.
Now that we don't have to go to a registry, and we both know the challenges that are being faced with registries.
Yes.
Yeah, and it even becomes a hurdle for persons with disabilities. If we ourselves, the challenges we have faced, people, the challenges we face through when we go to the registries, it's it's something that needs to be looked into.
Okay.
So we are hoping that with the digitization, that is something that has brought them on board, because as I said earlier, at wherever you're seated with the phone or on a computer, you're able to
access all these.
You can be able to now carry out a search. You can be able to pay for the rents, pay for the rates, the issue of the transfers and all that. So it's a positive thing that the government, it's a positive move by the government.
Okay.
Yeah, so kudos for them. But having this digitization and implementation of it is now another
quite a challenge.
Yes.
Actually, I was just thinking, in my own ways, I think it would be easier if, say, the government partnered with telco companies like Safaricom, where we normally see services offered in form of a text message. Like you can send a particular hash 144 or whatever, and then you get the information that you're seeking. Because most of them actually, I noticed they have moved from, these days you don't talk to an agent on the other end. Everything is automated. And I'm thinking if such a thing was brought into the land registry and such, it will be easier, where you can just dial and then dial another number and then pick from the list of the services being rendered by the land registry, and then you can be able to be assisted. Because as you say, we have very good laws.
Yes.
From the Constitution to the UN Convention on Persons with Disabilities and all that.
Yes.
But the challenge becomes on implementing these things, because we talk about the law, we discuss the law here on these platforms, but when you go down on the ground and look at the reality and hear about the stories, you realize that there's a very big disconnect between this and that. And I think, like you say, even besides the government itself, I think it should be a responsibility of even us as individuals, as professionals in the field, as business premises, as public places, to make sure that we create a society where everyone can access justice and everyone can be accommodated.
I actually do agree with you, and I think this is, if you look at what was done in the company's registry, the automation of the same, where now we have the business registration service, where you can be able to what do you call it? If you want to register a company, you can be able to reserve that name and all that at
like e-citizen, right?
E-citizen, yes, precisely. That's what I'm talking about. So, as you're saying, these are things that, and I'm glad you're mentioning it. You need to bring this up to to the guys who are sort of the implementing team.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's true, we have very good laws. The laws are perfect. Our constitution is termed as one of the most progressive constitutions. Yeah, but apart from now having this thing on paper, we need to, and it's a good idea as you're sharing, and I would wish that we pick it up from this.
Just we have a culture of discussing very important and valuable things, and then, but then they end up there just after the discussion. So it's a debate we also want to throw back to the people and viewers, to just make sure that they can also engage, and let's have this discourse back and forth, and see where we can come in, who we can partner with, to just make sure that, like you said, the Constitution under Article 27 talks about, among other things, equality, and it doesn't look at persons who are able and persons with disabilities. It just looks at persons as persons, and that's the spirit of the Constitution. But then again, we always have this problem of, we feel like there are persons with disabilities, a category, and then there's us. So we try to create and make things around this group of people and these other groups of people, and I think that's where we go wrong.
And actually, just from where if I pick it up, I think that is the reason why we normally have this phrase nowadays that disability is not inability.
Very true.
And you find there are things that are persons with disabilities are actually doing way better than
able people.
Than able people. Yes. So that notion that because I'm disabled, there are shortfalls that I face. It boils down to now an individual as well. In as much as the government needs to create the platform and make it a bit easier for police ability to also access services and all that. And as an individual as well, you need to sit down and say, I don't want to be limited because of the disability that I have. Yes. But there are those things, as you said, where you are unable to get information, such as the lack of an interpreter, because you can't communicate, you're unable to read, these documentations are not in braille,
very true,
and such kind of things. So those are things that need to be worked on.
Okay. Which brings me to another issue. Actually, when I was looking at the Mental Health Act, it came into place in 1989, if I'm not wrong, which was before the Constitution of Kenya. Yet we still have the issues of mental health going on. Now, from your perspective as a lawyer, when a person who is suffering from mental health and they have property, or they want to acquire property, how should they go about it, or what should their family know? Because every person has a right, and that's how the Constitution perceives things. We all have rights, whether you are a man, a lady, a young person, an old person, or a person with disability. How should we approach that?
That's quite interesting. You brought out something that I haven't had a chance to look at it from that angle. But just speaking on my feet, what I would say, it is indeed true that persons with mental challenges, so to say, also have rights.
Yes.
I might have an inheritance, or rather, this property was given to me, or by my dad or anything, but because I'm suffering from, I cannot comprehend. There are also those people who have lucid and illucid moments.
Very true. Very true.
So
very true.
When do you bridge the gap as to when now I am in my lucid state, or right now I am not in my lucid state?
Yes.
So it is something that I think there needs to be, as you say, the act came into being way before the Constitution. And what we know for sure is that the Constitution is the supreme law, and any other act that is contrary to the provisions of the Constitution, if there's such a provision in the law, then it stands as being null and void. Yes. So what we need to do is that we need to have amendments to that law.
Yes.
And clearly state that in the event that someone who suffers from a mental disorder wishes to, as you say, acquire property or dispose of property, I might have a mental disorder, but as a parent, I have kids who I need to transfer property to.
Yes.
So what will make this child, for instance, come and say that this property was transferred to me when dad was in not in its lucid state of mind. So these are challenges that we are facing, and it happens even not just as regards land, and it happens as regards some other issues.
It cuts across the board.
It cuts across the board.
Okay.
It cuts across the board, and it's very glad that you pointed it out, because a funny thing, I was having a court session. Yes, as I was stating, person with disability, it's not clear, it's a thin line, when to ascertain whether this person is, they have their mental health disorder and all that. And as I was rightly pointing out, it is a challenge that has been faced in courts as well. What becomes of these persons who are found to be of mental disorder, and it's just the other day, I just had Justice Jessica Sit convicting she was convicting a person who had committed the offense of murder. This is a guy who killed the brother, and during the course of the trial, it was established that at the time of the commission of the offense, they were not in their right state of mind. So it is something that came out during the hearing, and actually the doctors came and testified that indeed that accused person was not in their right state of mind. So it was interesting in the way that the sentence was pronounced by the learned Justice Lesit, because it's something that that we need to pick up, because in sentencing the accused person, they were convicted and told to be taken to Madare
Yes.
Teaching and Referral Hospital, because he stated that during the course of the trial, it was established that this person was not in the right state of mind, and not just during that time of the commission of the offense, up to when the sentencing was being meted up on them, they were not in the right state of mind. So why would you convict or rather sentence such a person to, let's say, committee? And how are you being of assistance to them?
Very true.
So it's something that even herself, when pronouncing the sentence, stated that it's a lacuna in the law that we need to take up and address the issue of people with mental disorder. How should they be handled?
Okay.
Yeah, it's something that I found interesting, and we await to see. The jurisprudence on that.
Speaking on the same, there's also this issue of persons who are, having lucid moments, and then sometimes they're out of those lucid moments. So sometimes you can engage them, and they seem very okay. They're in charge of their mental faculties. They make decisions, and other times they're not. And some of these people, sometimes they're parents, and they have property or land, or they want to acquire that particular piece of land. What happens when, how does the law approach that when such person's rights have been infringed, or they want to address their rights?
Actually, the case that comes to mind is the Kilima case.
Yes.
Yeah. If you rightly remember, during the time when the late Gerishon Kilima, before he passed on, he had those moments.
On and off.
Yes, on and off. There were times when he would be in his right state of mind. There are times when he would clearly lose, he wouldn't function well. And it's a dispute that is before the courts, and of course, as we cannot discuss into it. But those are some of the issues that have come up. Because there are some properties that are being alleged to to have been transferred during such periods of time. So we are wait and see, because it's a matter that was before Justice Musyoka. So we keep an eye on that.
And probably once everything is settled, we can discuss it further.
But just to point out, it's not easy to clearly state when someone is in their lucid state, or when they have clearly lost it. And I think it's just something that the doctors can be able to ascertain, because most of these people, you might find when they do wills, for instance, you will do a will when you are in your lucid moment, and then perhaps when you are not of your sane mind, you would be perhaps coerced by a family member or your favorite son or daughter, and then you find that now someone has a codicil, they want to show that no, despite dad or mom having stated this in the will, they came up with this document. So those are things that at times find their way in court, and now it is upon the person who is alleging
to prove.
As you know, the burden of proof lies with that person who alleges. So it is upon yourself to come and prove that yes, this was made during a lucid moment.
Interesting that you mentioned about wills, and maybe a viewer could be watching and wondering, what is a will? How can I make a will, and how important is it?
A will is something that is taken with, when you make a will, as a person, for instance, as a Caleb, when you decide, what, I want to put my affairs in order. So that, God forbid, when you are demised, there wouldn't be wrangles or fights within the family.
Over your property.
My property. So a will is an expression of, what or how you want your estate to be divided upon your demise. And the courts they take it to be as of a very weighty nature. Because it's believed that this is it is your intentions. This is what I wanted to happen.
Yes.
So it's important. It's important. Most people, we Africans, have that notion that if I do a will, then it might be a bad omen.
Yeah, I'm inviting some
misfortune upon myself. Or rather, if you decide to do a will, people will come and ask, hey, it seems this person might be.
Yeah, what are you up to? Are you living
us? Are you living us? Do you have some underlying condition?
Yes, that we don't know
about, and you feel like it's about time you put your estate in order. So it's important. We normally encourage people to do wills. And a will is not a one-time document.
Yes, you can keep it.
Yeah, you can keep on changing it, altering, deleting, and all that. Yeah, so that in the event that God forbid, and you're no longer with us,
yes,
at least your affairs are put in order. It
yeah.
is stated that this is what the deceased had planned, how his estate is supposed to be shared amongst the beneficiaries. Yeah,
and what should be included in a will? Must you have a property to write a will, or can you pass on your suit, or so people don't have that clear understanding of that. Maybe you can elaborate on it.
Yes. When you're doing a will, you are distributing whatever it is that you possess.
Oh, your possessions.
Yes.
Okay.
Be it movables, immovables.
By that, what do you mean?
Yeah, by immovables.
Yes.
It will mean things like motor vehicles. If tangible things.
Yes, something that you can touch and you can move from one point
to
the other.
From one point to another.
Okay.
That is the movables.
Okay.
Yes, and the immovables now, that is land.
Or things like land.
Yeah, things that you can't
move, or
Yes.
Yes.
So those are the things that you can dispose of with the will.
Okay.
Including your personal effects.
Okay.
As you say.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you might hold on to something. What do you call it? You might have bought a piece from. There's a word I'm looking for, but it seems to escape my mind.
Yes,
but it's
something that has an emotional value, and attachment.
It might be valuable. Yes. For instance, let's say you had a painting.
Yes.
Or that you bought at so much money from and it's worth
Italy or whatever.
Yeah, and it's worth So it doesn't necessarily mean people tend to think that if I'm to do a will, I ought to have a vast property or a vast estate.
Yeah.
For me to.
In fact, they say the wills are for the rich.
Yeah. But that is a misconception.
Okay.
Yeah. It's good to put your affairs in order.
Very true. Very true. So it's important to say that even to avoid some of these challenges that persons with disabilities face when it comes to land and property, it's important to put it down in a will.
You can.
Especially when you're talking of those lucid moments and the likes.
Yeah.
It's important to reduce it down in a will, so that in case of anything, there's something that the court can rely on, or your family can rely on. Okay. And in situations whereby it has happened that someone is losing property because of their mental disorder or something, can someone sue on their behalf, or can someone enforce their rights on their behalf?
Yeah.
Okay. How is that? How does that work?
If you need to prove that. You need to prove that this person is not. For instance, talking about, just to come to that point, on who can sue on behalf of the other one.
Yeah.
As you know, a minor cannot sue. They are representative, because the age, for Kenya, we know that the age of consent is 18
and above.
Yes.
Okay.
So unless and until you're of that age, you cannot sue on your own behalf.
Okay.
So that is why you normally find someone suing on behalf of this person.
Okay.
Yes, this minor. Or if personal representatives,
Okay.
Yeah. If you had property, as you're saying, someone passed on, so someone who wants to sue, before that process is done, or the grants of letters of administration are issued, you sue as a personal representative or a trustee on behalf of that estate. Same thing applies to now persons with disabilities when it comes to mental health, and what, as they clearly stated, it needs to clearly come out that this person is unable to
carry out
to
this
carry
legal
out
process.
this legal process.
Okay.
Yeah, and that can only be ascertained through a letter from the psychiatrist. Yeah, showing that yes, this person is not of the right mental state, but they would wish to have their case, so to say, heard if they had land.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are things that are possible, because as you say, the law is access to justice is something that should be a thing that is available to each and every person. It's not limiting you because of your mental state and all that. Yeah. So some persons can only sue on behalf of another person.
Okay.
Yeah.
And lastly, those people who take advantage of such people and they acquire such properties from them or land or deny them their rights, is it an offense in the law? Can an action be taken against them, or what happens? Because most times these people do these things comfortably, out of either ignorance or deliberately. That this person has no rights and I'm in charge. Yeah.
What I would say about that is that the law does not it's open to each and every person. And as you say, these people, when they do these things, they do it with knowing at the end of the day, where would this person
take me?
Well, this person take me.
Yeah.
And that is why I told you now, the problem with our laws is, the burden of proof.
Okay.
Who does the burden of proof lie with?
Okay.
So if, for instance, I acquired this property in an unjust way,
yes,
it is upon me to come and, prove that this title was rightly transferred from this person to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So what I can say is that these people, it doesn't necessarily mean that they do not have any rights by virtue of being in a mental disorder type of way. Because if you are able to prove as a beneficiary to an estate, let's say, so you're able to prove that I know that this property was not rightly transferred.
Okay.
Then let this person come and prove that yes, we sat, we did as an agreement. It was done before this and so advocate, and that during that period they were in the lucid state.
Okay. Okay. All right. Before we wind up the show, Kilia, we normally have a very small segment whereby we ask our guest, what is the best part of the job?
That's a nice one. Well, the best part of my job as an advocate,
yes,
I feel joy if I see someone walking out of court and having felt as if that I have my justice has been served.
Okay.
Yes. There's a notion out there that advocates, we are called on all sorts of names.
True.
Yeah, but it boils down to an individual. But for me, when I step out of a courtroom,
yes,
and I see that indeed justice has been served, whether your client is guilty or not,
yes,
then that is
it gives you that.
Gives me. I can sleep. Yeah, I can sleep in
peacefully.
At least, yes, justice has been served.
Okay.
That's part of my job.
Wonderful, and like every beautiful thing, our show also has to come to an end. In case you have any questions or comments, or you need to get in touch with our guest, who is Silas Ombati, an advocate of the High Court, please send them to our social media contacts and we'll be able to reach out to you or put you in touch with him. This has been Access to Justice.